Well, welcome everyone. This is Ask the Experts. My name is Hasani.
And I'm Jeff. I can't get that right. I don't know. What's going on with me?
Jeff, I can't hear you, man. You got to speak up a little bit louder.
All right, brother. Can you hear me now?
It's kind of low for some reason. Barely hear you. Barely hear you. Sometimes that happens. There's tech issues. We'll get it straight. But in the meantime, guys, we're glad that you're tuning in from all over the world. We want you to state what city, state, or country you are reaching out from, because we want to connect with you every single evening, Monday through Thursday, We have these conversations where we answer your questions. And so we don't want you to wait till 15, 20 minutes in. We want you to drop your questions in the chat right now so that we can spend time unpacking them. Last 2 nights ago, we had an amazing conversation. Your questions were so rich, we were able to hit them and move on to the next, and that's what we're asking for you to do tonight. We're going to start off with a question that came in a discussion that Danielle and I were having this morning. We're in a series talking about big mistakes that people make. We started off with the mistakes that the unfaithful partner makes, and then we got into the mistakes that the betrayed spouse makes. And so in that, a question came where we were identifying some of the things that betrayed spouses do that can be counterproductive to their personal healing and their marital restoration. And one of them was holding on to evidence of the affair. And so the question is, why does she keep all the evidence? It's been 2.5 years. And the add-on question to that, Jeff, was, what if a spouse keeps the evidence of the affair and then sends it back to the cheating partner or the affair partner when the betrayed partner gets upset at times? So not only are they holding on to it, but now they're using it for whatever purpose it serves and sending it to the affair partner, I guess as a reminder. I'm not sure. But this is a very common issue that we find when we're doing these last chance weekends, these private marriage intensives. We get to a point where we say, okay, do you have any evidence? Is there anything in your phone? Are there any pictures, videos, text messages, emails, anything? Are there articles that you've collected or accumulated at your home that serve as reminders of the affair? Yes, I have it. Well, why do you have it? Because I never want to forget, and I never want him or her to forget. Well, the reality is, and you could probably unpack this, Jeff, the subconscious mind will never forget. It will always be there. It will always be there. So you don't have to consciously put your attention and focus on it because of the subconscious mind. I mean, listen, the only way that you could forget is if you were in an accident and you have memory loss, and then you could not think of what happened. Outside of that, talk about what you think the damage is, Jeff, of holding on to possessions or information, pictures, videos, all types of things that remind you of the affair.
Yep. I always liken it to driving, having a destination that you're trying to get to, and looking in the rear view mirror the entire time. You're bound to get into an accident because we're not driving looking at the past. We're driving looking at the future. And anchoring yourself in the past is nothing but pain. It's like flagellation. It's like self-flagellation. You're constantly beating yourself. I understand why it's being done, though. It's the real reason why it's not being done is because they do not believe. They have not received the closure they were looking for. And a lot of this has to do with the trickling out of the discovery. The discovery questions were never satisfied. They never actually got to all the questions they wanted they wanted answers from, and they never got a chance to really make sure that that person was telling the truth. You know, the person who commits the affair has a tendency to hustle and jive and kind of marginalize and belittle what was done. Oh, it was nothing. It didn't mean anything. Well, what does that say about the partner that you're with if you were able to do something that didn't mean anything? You know, there's a lot of those things that have not been dealt with, and that's one of the things I love about Last Chance Weekend is because we go all the way in on that. And we don't allow that stuff. We make it, like you said, Hasani, that should be your last conversation. And unfortunately, people are terrible at being their own lawyers in these types of situations. And it's even worse when they're trying to play lawyer in a situation where they just need to come clean.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. I agree 1,000%. So if you're holding on to evidence, I want to encourage you to release it, because it's not serving you. It's keeping you trapped in the past. And when you're trapped in that moment, you begin to think negative and feel negative. And what it does is it serves as a reminder for you about what has happened. It creates a disconnect between you and your partner. You don't want to show up in the relationship. You just want to be left alone. Or what happens is you begin to hate and have vitriol for your partner for what they did either last month, last year, last decade, and you can't release it. And that toxicity remains within you. So please do yourself a favor, let it go. Now the questions are starting to come in. All right, here we go. We're going to go to the next. I got to slow these things down. Okay. Hey, my question is, guys, I need you to type slow. Hey, my question is threesome with my husband. I am okay with it, but us God. I guess the question is God. Is God okay with a threesome? Well, we know that according to Hebrews 13, verse 4, it says that marriage should be honored by all, and the marriage bed kept pure, or in some translations, it says undefiled, for God will judge the adulterer and all the sexually immoral. So even if there is permission by your spouse to bring a third party in, you are defiling the bedroom. Now, you asked about God, so that's where we're going to go. By God's design, it was not designed to bring more than two people into a bedroom or into a relationship. He created Adam and Eve, not Adam and Eve and Sarah, or Adam and Bob and Susie. There were two. Right? And those two shall become one. And the only third party is God, because it's a threefold covenant between you, your partner, and God. And when God created marriage, the institution, the first institution on the planet, he created laws and principles to guide yourself by to ensure your success. When you step out of his plan for your life, when you step out of the laws and the principles that he's designed for marriage to work, then you're going to have all types of problems. We have counseled several couples who have said, listen, we began to fantasize and we've invited someone else into our bedroom. It was the biggest mistake of our lives. Or I've even heard people say, we brought the devil into our bed. I mean, these are people who are faithful people. They believe in God. They go to church. Some do, some don't. But the point is, it's not designed to work. It is not designed to work. Even in, listen, everybody, listen, we cover all types of faith traditions, all cultures all over the world. Even in marriages where you can have a second and third spouse because it's a part of that tradition, there are all types of issues and complications that are even involved in that. There's complexity in it. And so rather than voluntarily bringing stuff into your relationship that will definitely cause pain, you should do yourself a favor and safeguard your relationship by not allowing that in and making sure that your fantasies don't take you in places that you're not prepared to go in. Jeff, what do you say about that?
I've known several people.
Speak a little bit closer to your computer, man. It's kind of low.
I've known several people throughout my life who've played around in that arena. I've never met one couple that stayed together. Not one. I've never seen it. Because what happens is bonds get formed, and then jealousies get formed, and attachments get formed. I've seen the attachment where the woman and the woman formed an attachment. Now the man felt left out. I've seen attachments where the man and the other woman formed an attachment, and now the spouse felt left out. I've seen where everybody ended up hating everybody and trying to poison everybody in the situation. What I've never seen is happiness come from it. Not one single example. And if we always have that rule one, people that have what you want and been where you've been, even if you're going beyond the spiritual, religious, and just practical, it's completely impractical, because I have never met anyone who lives happily and has stayed together who's played in that world.
Yeah, so it's a slippery slope, and many people have literally slipped off a cliff, but it's not too late. It's not too late to restore your relationship. As I said, we've worked with several and we've gotten them into a better place, but it's a challenge. It's a challenge. It's just its own world in and of itself. And Yeah. But just reach out to us. I would encourage you to set up a discovery call if you and your partner are interested in trying to restore your relationship. It takes someone who's skilled and experienced in working with that. And we have several practitioners that can do that. Let's go to the next question. My wife has cheated on me 4 times in the past 6 years. We've been together for 13 and a half years and have 2 kids. Should I just walk away? Well, no. I mean, the fact that you're watching this at 9 o'clock at night when there's so many other things to do is proof that you don't want to walk away. It's proof that you want your relationship and you're seeking answers and trying to find solutions. And is it possible? And it is possible. And many other people have been in the same situation that you're in. They've come from a place of desperation. They've gone through the process and have left with inspiration. My question is your partner open to the possibility of getting help, of working with someone, of getting counseling? If she is, I would highly recommend you not make a decision in your feelings and your emotions, because when you do that, you're making a decision that you will ultimately regret. When you're in your feelings and when you're in your emotions, whatever you decide to do, you're going to retreat on it. If you decide to leave, you're going to backpedal and say, no, I want to stay. If you decide to stay in your feelings and emotions, you're going to vacillate back and forth and say, I want to leave. So what we do is we help balance heart and head, thoughts and feelings and emotions, and walk you through a process. And the process that we walk you through will help answer the question in terms of what your next step should be. So once again, it is not too late. Find someone you can work with. We are available to do that. Does that make sense? A couple other questions. Ashley responds to the previous statement. She says sometimes the betrayed partner holds on to that, meaning the evidence, because they may feel as if they have leverage over the partner. Sometimes it gives them the power or causes the spouse to be more empathetic or still wanting them to feel the hurt that they felt. It's unresolved, in a nutshell, to the betrayed partner. And I get it. I mean, yeah, I think what you're saying, Ashley, that is probably some of the reasons that one would have for holding on to it. I get it. I just think that ultimately it can be counterproductive, not just for the relationship, but for the person holding on to this evidence. It's just not going to serve, particularly if you've made the decision to stay. And so the question is, if you made the decision to stay, what you're also committing to something. I'm committing to be miserable in my marriage. I'm committing to be distant in my marriage, or I'm committing to restoring my marriage. And if I'm going to restore it, I've got to release certain things that will bring toxicity, and that happens to be one of those things. All right, no more questions. We have an early night tonight.
No, you have Rashawn.
What'd you say?
Rashawn.
Rashawn. Good evening. My wife has decided to get one-on-one counseling. Thank you, Jeff. Instead of group counseling. Group counseling is not out of the picture. Is this a major setback or just a longer road ahead?
He also fixed that and said couples counseling, not one-on-one counseling. So she wants couples counseling for them as a couple and prefers not to do groups, not out of the picture. He later said that. I just saw it in the comments.
Okay.
Yep.
How do you want to respond to that?
Well, I would say that you should consider the possibility. One of the things that we notice is that couples counseling is extremely effective, but there's something about Last Chance Weekend being with other couples that adds a different spice. It's more of a support network. You're not getting into your deep issues in front of the group. I think that needs to be clear. That's not what's happening at all. That is happening privately, one-on-one. What you're doing as a group is learning the tools and understanding the scenarios that literally applies to every relationship. So that part is group, and then the other parts that are private stay completely private, one-on-one with the counselor, and you'll be oscillating between those as the weekend progresses. I think that's important to bring up.
I'm going to read the question and then we'll go to a quick break. So here's the question. How do you guys feel about Kevin Samuel's perception on men exploring their options. I am a woman who was taught old school. Cheating is wrong, etc. But I understand Kevin's point of view, but I get confused. This is a question that actually we did a series on this. Jeff was a part of that series when we were talking about high value men and high value women and what that is. But you know what? We're going to cover that in just a second. So just stay right there. Watch a couple of these commercials because a lot of times people reach out and say, "Well, how do I find out more about your services?" Well, every single day we share video. We actually have a low 1/3, the website, a phone number, all that good stuff. So listen, check and see what we do. We're here to serve you. We'll be right back, guys. This is Ask the Experts. All right, guys, we're back. You're watching Ask the Experts. My name is Hasani. This is Jeff. We're here to answer your questions. And we're going to go back to a question that came right before our break. How do you guys feel about Kevin Samuels' perception on men exploring their options? I'm a woman who has been taught old school, cheating is wrong, etc. But I understand Kevin's point of view, but I get confused. Jeff, this is your space because you are our men's coach. Take it away.
There's only two words you have to say to get under my skin, and that's Kevin Samuels.
Tell us why.
Okay, so I have this thing. We only listen to people who have what we want and been what we've been. And the last time I checked his LinkedIn profile, which was 5 seconds ago, Kevin Samuels is still an image consultant who is available for personal shopping, private styling, personal and corporate image consulting based in Atlanta. And he will do all. And before that, he sold Yellow Pages. And before that, it was the opposite of Yellow Pages. Before that, it was Office Depot. I don't know what qualifies Kevin Samuels to be an expert in anything. So I'm just going to say that before we even talk about Kevin Samuels and give him credence, I will let him buy me a suit. He's a pretty good dresser. I give him credit for that. But he doesn't have any experience in relationships. He's been divorced twice. Both of his wives, ex-wives, have come out and said how hard it was to get their child support from him. I don't think he's in any kind of space to criticize women, which he does a lot of. I watched him criticize a woman one specific time for having a degree in she had a degree in biology, and she was working as a person in leasing or some kind of rental offices. And he was criticizing her specifically for not using her degree and playing herself short. Well, last time I checked, he has a chemical engineering degree that he got back in 1991 from the University of Oklahoma, and he'll buy you some nice clothes. So that's my view on Kevin Samuels.
Tell us what you really think. What do you think about his philosophy, though? So here's a man who says that once you reach a certain financial status or a level of success,
I can't tell if I'm freezing or Hasani if it's you. But I believe I know what
you
you're
have the freedom. Okay. He does not qualify. You have to check his audience. He's dealing with individuals who are single, helping them to become high value so that they can increase their probability of being selected for marriage, if that's the goal for many. So a married person who's already married should not be listening to Kevin Samuels, who's talking to people about how they should make more, how they should weigh a certain amount, how they should have a certain type of status to get someone. We're dealing with people who already have a relationship, who are trying to heal and recover. So, Kevin Samuels has his audience, and so I would question who that audience should be and who it's for.
Well, I don't listen to fast shows about psychological matters.
Gotcha. So no, we don't value Kevin Samuels or anyone else who has philosophies that don't serve a healing relationship. It seems like he does more to tear people down and tear people apart than pull them together. So let's go to the next question. What is an emotional affair exactly? Most unfaithful partners think that if they didn't love them, it wasn't emotional. Is this true? Good evening, Hasani and Jeff. Well, an emotional affair, let's talk about it. An emotional affair, there are many emotions. Love is one, and to your point, I think people have a tendency of minimizing and saying what it wasn't because they didn't love the person. Well, a lot of people in affairs don't love the person. They're doing it for all different types of reasons, and love oftentimes isn't one of the main ingredients unless we're talking about like a long-term affair. So I don't know why love determines what something is and isn't. Oftentimes, emotional affairs are connections. There's a chemistry. There's a bonding experience. There's an infatuation, possibly. It doesn't have to be love. It could be a strong like. But either I like you or I like how I feel when I'm with you. And that's the motivation to continue to engage in conversations, interactions, phone calls, videos, text messages, whatever it may be. Remember, when we talk about the three components of an affair, number one, secrecy. Is there secrecy? Okay, yeah, because I don't want you to know about it. We're secretly having conversations. Number two, emotional involvement. I like you, whatever that means, or I like how I feel when I'm with you. So there's a feeling, there's an emotion connected to this experience. Number three, sexual energy, meaning doesn't have to be the act, but there's a sexualized tension and flirtation and suggestiveness in your back and forth banter, dialogue, and interaction. Those are the three components of an affair, whether it is physical or not physical. Okay, so I hope that helps to give you an answer. And so it's interesting. Someone asked the question today offline: is a physical affair worse than an emotional affair, or is emotional worse than physical? And I said it depends on the person. It really depends on the person, because I've heard people say, I wish he would just be physical.
Yeah, I've heard the same. You're breaking up again. He wishes that it was just a physical affair instead of an emotional affair, because the emotional affair has a stronger bond and it creates connection that can cause more jealousy. Um, I think Hassani's connection is having problems. So I'm going to continue. Let's see here. Is it wrong for a man to let his wife move to a new city without them while they handle business back at home, like selling their home? If it's just to sell the home, if there's been an affair in the past, I would say that that is probably a problem. If there's been some kind of uh, infidelity or